truth, and life. Here is the Brother Leon Show. You better recognize.
What's going on, listeners? This is your boy, Brother Leon, and you are tuning into another episode of the Brother Leon Show. So today, I want to tell you guys I am so excited. Woo! Man, we're going to have Sister Lillian Harrison. She is a native here in Delaware. She is doing phenomenal things in the community. So guys, we are going to be calling her real soon. But the one thing I want you guys to understand and know is this, is that God has called us to act as the Good Samaritan. Because you got to understand and know that God has ordained people, He has anointed people to go to the places, to go to where the hurt is. And so in going to where the hurt is, sometimes that means that you function outside of the church. And the one thing that I love about Jesus is this, is that He went to people. Not only did He teach in the synagogues, but He also went to people. And so that is what God has called us to do. And so as we listen to this interview with Sister Harrison this morning, I want you to look at the fact of, okay, ask yourself this question. What am I doing for God that is outside of the four walls of the church? Because the one thing that you have to understand is this, is that when you show mercy to people, and it's not like, you know, I could have did this type of mercy, but I didn't. It's the type of mercy that says, hey, I have what you need. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make sure that you are okay. That is showing mercy. That is showing kindness. That is being a neighbor to your friend. And so that is what God has called us to. The one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is this, is that there is a place in heaven for those that do that work, for those who are ministering to those in the kingdom. Because, you know, Jesus, He described it like this. You know, Lord, when did we see you sick? When did we see you in jail? When did we see you naked? And I'm just paraphrasing scripture. He said, you know, you did it unto me when you did it unto the least of these. And so you got to understand and know that there are those who need help, who need our help. And that's what God has called us to do. And so, you know, I want you guys to be aware and know of the work that Sister Harrison is doing. I mean, man, she does it all. I mean, consultation, ministry, coaching, you name it, she does it. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. She is like a jack of all trades. Seriously, if you need this, she is like the go-to person. And she definitely, you know, can refer you to services as well. So I want you guys, man, to just listen, because there are a lot of gifts and gems like this in Delaware. That's the God knows truth. I'm so thankful that God has given us Apostle Ivory Hopkins, who is in Delaware, and he travels all over the place doing deliverance. Just like, you know, Sister Lillian Harrison. She does all types of work, and she's here in Delaware. There's so many gifts, ministerial gifts, entrepreneurial gifts that are here in Delaware. Because a lot of times Delaware gets the connotation just like Nazareth, just like Galilee. I remember I was doing the episode, man, and right before the episode, it was like, do black people actually live in Delaware? I'm like, yes, it's black people that live in Delaware. So I want you guys to understand and know that even though we are Delaware, we are Dela great. And God has called us to be just that. And I look at it like this. They say, hey, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. If you can make it in Delaware, you can make it anywhere. You just have to make up your mind that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be. This is what God has called me to. So, hey, man, We're going to put Delaware on the map. And I am here to declare to you this day that we are the miracle. That we are the miracle. That we are the giant killer. And that God has called us for a specific time. It's for a specific reason. So guys, we're going to call Sister Harrison right now. We're going to work on that. Let's call her, see what's going on. And as I pull it up, here we go.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing, Sister Harrison? This is Brother Leon.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm real good. I was just telling the listeners about how how God has blessed us to have you in Delaware and how some of the gifts that are in Delaware. I was like, man, you can't neglect Delaware. Delaware got some gifts.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so I was just telling the listeners we was doing an intro and everything. So, the first question that I want to ask you, I just want to say thank you, first of all. And I just, we honor you this morning for the work that you're doing in the community, also the work that you're doing in the body of Christ. So I just want to say I honor you this morning. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for agreeing to come on the show. And also thank you for your work that you're doing in the community, because I look at your Facebook posts and I'm like, man, she is all over the place.
Yeah, that seems to be a common statement.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, how does she do it? I mean, man, she got this, she got that. How does she do it? So I just want to ask you, so tell us, who are you?
I feel like I'm same as Paul, like I'm the chiefest of nobodies. Mm-hmm. Just blessed to be able to help someone, and I definitely count it a privilege that God allows me to minister and to just help His people. So, I'm a mother just like everybody else or anyone else. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. So I'm you. I'm everyone and no one.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you this. So when did you get born again?
Oh man, gosh, what year was that? Look, what year was that? 23. So I think like 1993.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 1993. And then like I can't say like everybody else. Everybody's journey is different. So, I grew up in the church. So going to church with my grandma who raised me, and so it was a struggle. I left the church at a young age, and then ended up going back and rededicating my life. And even though I haven't been as close at one point in my life with church, God and I have always had a special relationship, and I count on it, and I walk by faith in the relationship I know that I have with God. Okay.
Let me ask you this, because I've asked a lot of people this. Do you consider yourself like a church kid or a preacher's kid?
No, not really. Like I said, I was raised by my grandma, mm-hmm. and she was we were in church like 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
So, that could be considered. So, no, not really. Mm-hmm. But as far as, like my uncle was a pastor, so the thread runs through our family deep. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm not really a PK.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was saying, man, my mom, I wasn't per se a preacher's kid, but it just seemed like, man, the Holy Ghost get on my mom, and I couldn't get away with nothing.
That's right. My son feel that way. My sons feel that way. They feel like God got a on them. They can't do nothing.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God. I used to actually think that somebody was watching me. I was like, how does she know this? I'm thinking to myself, because see, here's my mom. My mom, she ain't had no license. So it's like, it wasn't like she could just drive around the city. You know what I mean? I'm like, how does she know that? I'm thinking to myself, somebody must be calling her or something.
So yeah, she was a praying mama. That's what that was.
Oh yeah,
praying mama.
Oh yeah, and she told me that. She's like, yeah, I pray. The Holy Ghost be talking. And I ain't gonna lie. Forgive me for what I'm getting ready to say. I'm not trying to offend you. I used to hate the Holy Ghost. I'm like, I am getting sick and tired of this Holy Ghost.
I can understand saying. I'm sure that there's a time in my children's life that they probably felt the same.
Yeah, so when you say your boys can't get away with nothing, I'm like, yeah, I know that one. I'm serious. And the crazy part about it is like, you know, as a boy and I was dating, I'm like, I am not bringing this girl around my mom. Oh, hell no.
Well, I can say that they differ in that respect. Every girl that they dated, the first thing they wanted to do, because I think they felt like the Holy Ghost was a third eye. Like they felt like I was going to tell them something about her to keep them away from somebody crazy.
Yeah. So that's I think that's the one thing. And over time I learned how to appreciate it. I was like, okay, let me let my mom see her. And then that way I could know what I'm dealing with. So, but
that's right.
You know, but I look at it like this: women know women, and I mean, you know, that's the one thing that I appreciate about our Christian women is that it seems like they have a sensitivity to the Holy Ghost that is definitely different from our men. And when you have a woman on your side that has vision, that has, you know, a relationship in prayer, a relationship with the Holy Ghost, it's an asset. Yeah. It is definitely an asset.
I certainly hope so. I hope more men see that it's such a guiding factor in our lives. And speaking as a woman, you know what I'm saying? That I pray over, you know, I pray over the relationships. I pray over the things, guidance for my husband and things like that. I said those things are what keep me grounded and what keep us grounded as a couple, what keep us grounded as individuals. So I hope men do realize the value of, you know, a woman that prays.
Oh, yeah. Because I look at it like this. If you have a woman that prays, she definitely has your back. And you know, and I tell guys, I'm like, yo, you need to listen, because trust and believe. If she sees it and you avoid it, that is a landmine that you just avoided for the whole family. You know, you just avoided a landmine for the whole family. So it's not like she's trying to tell you what to do. It's just, you know, she sees stuff.
That's true.
You know.
That's true.
So Sister Harrison, tell us about your history in Delaware.
Well, I was born and raised here, believe it or not. I left for a while. I lived 7 years in Florida, but I was born and raised right in Milford, Delaware.
Wow.
And so, I'm a native. Grew up here, and you know, most of my life experiences all come from just hanging out here. I mean, I raised with my grandmother. There wasn't a whole lot of hanging out I was going to do. But yeah. So again, certainly a native. Returning back I came back in 2008 because my mom got ill, and so I've been here ever since. But it really is home. I didn't see it always as home. Certainly, when I left for Florida, I never planned to look at Delaware again. But God had other plans, and so, you know, here I am, and I certainly hope fulfilling, you know, His purpose and call for my life.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because I know a lot of people are like, man, you know, Milford, Seaford, Wilmington, you know, it's so what was Milford like? Because I've lived in Wilmington most of my life, and it's been like a couple times I was able to travel downstate. I was actually in Georgetown one time, and I was like, whoa, man, it's, you know, it's crazy, because it's like, you know, you can be in Georgetown and you can actually go to Salisbury. We actually went to the Golden Corral, Salisbury.
Right.
But tell us, what's Milford like? And is it like Wilmington? Is it different from Wilmington?
Oh, absolutely. I worked in Wilmington for years, and so, you know, the difference for me, you know, first of all, downstate versus upstate. Downstate, completely country. Trees, and you just see it like that. Our neighborhoods tend to be, well, when I was growing up, you knew everybody on that street. Now, you don't necessarily know everybody on the street. Everybody's pretty much kind of to themselves, but it's still quiet country. That's what it is. For me, the difference between downstate and upstate, like Wilmington's a lot of hustle and bustle. Everything you need is right on the next block. And it's good, but it's a little more congested. So when I'm working all day, especially on days that I have to be in Wilmington, it's fine, but I can't wait to get back to the quiet calm of the country.
Wow, that's good. That's definitely good. So hey, that's definitely the difference between Milford and Wilmington. So tell us, when did you start becoming? When did you become an entrepreneur? When did you start, delving into that field?
I actually, no, let's see. My baby was born in he was born in 1990. Mm-hmm. So I would probably say like 93, 94, somewhere like that. 93, 94, because I was working, and at the time I was a single mother, and I needed something extra at the time. And so I knew that I was good with the computer. And so I started my first business, which was called Plus One Enterprises. The plus one was I was the plus one. God was the plus. I was the one. Mm-hmm. So, that was when I first started, just to make ends meet, doing what I thought I could do, what I knew I was good at, which was, letters and brochures and anything with desktop publishing. Mm-hmm. And I was blessed to know people, so they secured my services, and that's what got me as a single mom through a lot of through tough winters a few times, mm-hmm. where there wasn't much, if work was wasn't going on or something, for the extras that I wanted for my children. A lot of times that came really from being able to do my first business. So that's when I kind of started, and I really have been an entrepreneur ever since. So definitely over 20 some years.
Wow.
But it's, as I've grown, it's taking on a whole new look, and it's been constantly evolving. Mm-hmm. So,
wow, that's good. I love the fact that you were able to do that, and also has sustainability as well. So tell us about some of your various business ventures, some of the things that you did.
So I started out with desktop publishing, and then that evolved pretty much into public relations and marketing. And so that's what's been nice, and I've kept that going. And I do a lot of that for churches and for nonprofits, but I also have commercial clients as well. Mm-hmm. And so we have the public relations and marketing business. My business consulting, so I have a business development firm, and I help a lot of businesses and nonprofits pretty much nationwide. Mm-hmm. I've done some consulting over internationally, but mainly it's nationally. And so that's the business development firm. Of course, I have my own nonprofit, which I just started this particular nonprofit now. I started about 3 years ago. And then you hear Zeus in the background. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, that you got a cat?
Yes, I just rescued a kitty from the SPCA, and he's just a little over a month old, and his name is Zeus.
Wow, that's good. That's real nice.
And he's clamoring for attention.
Oh, okay. So tell us about this new nonprofit you started.
Yes, so Elevated CDC. God gave me the name years ago, and then birthed it in 2017. And so it is Ephesians 4:10 and 4:12. I'm sorry, and it really is for the perfecting of the saints. Mm-hmm. And so Elevated CDC is commissioned to work with primarily ex-offenders, homeless veterans, and displaced veterans and chronically homeless individuals. And we've since then included TANF and TANF-like individuals because of our partnership with the state of Delaware. So, but our core calling was to really work with ex-offenders in and out of the prison, not just to give them hope, but to provide meaningful employment for them. You're coming out of the system. There's enough stigma going on that you don't any other kicks to the gut, any other barriers, and so. One of the things that I have found since working with them is really about pride and dignity. Yeah. And so I like that my organization is focused on maintaining a sense of dignity. So we provide employment and training for them. The employment, even direct hire employment through my construction company, allows me to hire them and give them above minimum wage employment. And we can take them as far as they want to go, but it's really up to them. I can move them into entrepreneurship. Some of them we have. So a couple different things. It's wherever they want to go and whatever they want to do. We want to work with them and we want to be their partner in success. So that's why Elevated was created. And so far we've been fairly successful.
That's great. That's great. So you just said that you have a construction company. Can you tell us about that?
So when you live in Sussex County, one of the things you learn if you are in business in Sussex County is there are really three main industries here. Tourism, which is a huge industry, of course, agriculture, and construction.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to do anything with agriculture at all. Tourism, for my purpose of being able to provide long-term employment, tourism wasn't necessarily the best option. And so I've dabbled before and I've done some building projects, and so construction was the way to go. And so when I wanted to provide direct hire employment for those who have more barriers, I started the construction company. So we do construction, full service construction, but we also do construction cleanup as well. So post-construction cleanup. So it allows me to be able to hire people and to keep them, to train them on the site. We've made some great partnerships with the Association of Building Contractors, Wolfson's, and a few of the other larger contractors, so that, ECDC becomes a training ground, and QLC is the name of my construction company, but becomes a training ground for those that want to start and grow and learn in the construction industry.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I am so glad that God has opened up doors for you and that you are opening up doors for those who are, re-entering into society, because that's what's needed. We need people that are going to be re-entry specialists, and that's what's needed right now, because you hit the nail on the head when you talk about pride and dignity, because, you get a stigma once you go to jail, and then sometimes that stigma happens to stick with you, and it's hard to get employment, and it can be frustrating at times. So I just want to applaud you and thank you for that.
Thank you. I feel like I know that it's all God. I always say that it wasn't something I necessarily felt like I was capable to do, and certainly I don't feel like I wanted to do, to be perfectly honest, if I'm completely transparent. But it was something God called me to do, and when He wouldn't let me out of it, it's going to be His will or nothing. So here I am doing it, and I will honestly say that, in His infinite wisdom, He was so right. I love doing what I do. I love providing the opportunities. I love seeing, my guys and girls, my ladies and gentlemen, I love seeing them succeed.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. What's the most rewarding thing that you get out of doing what you do right now? I think it's just whatever small part I play in someone having a better tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And better tomorrow may not mean a better day after sometimes, but if you were hungry today and I was able, by the grace of God, to feed you, then I feel privileged to be able to have done that. Because just a few short years ago, I've been homeless. I've certainly been hungry. And so to now be in a position where that's not my story, I can help someone else. I can sympathize. I've been there, know what that is. And so the fact that God has elevated me to a place where I can now help someone else, I don't ever forget that I was just there, there, but for the grace of God go I. So I never forget that. So the most rewarding thing for me is the fact that I've done whatever I felt God has called me to do, to the point where He's elevated me and entrusted me to be able to help somebody else. So that's the part that's rewarding to me. Wow, that's great. So look, I know there's been times, has frustration ever come and you've been like, man, this just ain't worth it?
Oh, absolutely, especially with the construction company. Mm-hmm. That's not the construction company was not a comfort area. Mm-hmm. I've always chosen professions and businesses where I completely controlled what was going on on my skill level, based on my skills and my talents. Yeah. So the construction wasn't that, because I can't build a house. Yet I felt like God was calling me and the doors were open. And so that's what we did. So many a day while we were, especially in the beginning, getting the company underway, man, I'm telling you, I had many a day where I just thought it would just be so nice to just go to a 9-to-5 job and not worry about all this stuff, because I tell you, being a boss sometimes kind of sucks. All the responsibility is completely on you, and when you're responsible for other people's lives, and at one time I had as many as 20 employees, that was really tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people don't look at, you got to count the cost. So, I want to say thank you. So let me ask you this. I want to change it up. When did you accept your call into ministry?
I think for me, it's continuous. I knew God called me. I knew He called me to preach. I accepted the fact that He called me to preach. I would say probably about 6 or 7 years ago, even though I didn't move into it because it wasn't something I wanted to do. I didn't mind ministering. To me, ministry was being out in the streets and helping people and feeding people and clothing people, and I was fine with that. But when you're in a ministry, I was in a Watch God Move ministry and being fed, and when you're being fed and it's a good word and it's good food, destiny calls, and when destiny calls, it gets uncomfortable until you begin to answer the call. You just get more and more uncomfortable. So, I don't think that I really fully accept it. I've begun walking into it, I guess, maybe 3 to 4 years ago. Walking into it as a minister for Watch God Move. I've since moved on from there. I'm working with, I have, to whom much is given, much is required is such a true statement. So I have so much business act that I know when God called me to assist the pastors, one of the things that He called me to do is I have a different take on ministry. And so ministry for me is about literally Ephesians 4:12, equipping the saints. So teaching them how to stand on their own feet financially, how to do strategic planning and thinking. And it starts with the heads. It starts with the pastors. We're doing Tuesday night Bible study, but we should be doing Wednesday night or Thursday night life skills as well, because that's where our people are perishing. So the call to ministry for me is encompassing all of those things that God called me to be and has equipped me to do. To work with pastors and leadership to help them build ministries that allow them to equip the saints, to build strong family foundations. Because if you're hungry, you're not listening to anything. If you're broke, you ain't listening to anything. You're struggling, you're striving, you're trying, and it's not much getting in. And that God wants us to be in a position where we can receive the word. And if you're worried and stressful and hungry, you can't receive. So I've finally kind of moved into it. And this year, before this year is out, I will move into pastoring.
Wow. Oh my God. That's amazing. That's great, because you hit the nail on the head, because, a lot of times people we just got to believe God. We just got to have faith. But it also says in the Bible that I will show you my faith by my works.
That's right.
So if you really start working on doing the work, if it's financial freedom, you've got to start, showing people the language of money, how finance works.
Right, how to be financially free.
Yeah.
All the things. And if you've never been if that's never been an environment that you grew up in or you were raised in, it's erroneous to think that someone's just gonna, automatically get it, because you don't. If I never taught you how to manage a checkbook or how to watch the fees or those things, you're going to continue a cycle of poverty that's going to live paycheck to paycheck. If I never taught you how to raise a business and to how to structure that business so that it successfully feeds your family and how to grow it strategically, you're never going to be able to do that. You're going to always end up with maybe a hustle here or there. And that's the thing that we have to do in building the kingdom. God says, I'm going to make you the lender and not the borrower. Well, how in the world can you ever do that if you never learn and you're never taught to do that?
Yes, exactly. Because, it's crazy, because we hear those scriptures that talks about God empowers us to get wealth, and we hear those scriptures that, beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health.
And even as your soul prospers.
Yeah, and then, we live paycheck to paycheck. We barely making it, but we still go to church. And it's like, sometimes you ask yourself, like, man, is it even worth it? I'm like, man, I know what the pastor's saying, but I ain't seeing it.
And that's the whole problem. And that's why God told me to work with pastors and leaders, is because it's not that the lay person is they're doing all they know to do. Mm-hmm. If you are a leader of God's people, he has entrusted you to that particular flock. And to that particular flock, you are responsible for their absolute well-being. That is for teaching them how to live holy, WHOLLY, holy, complete, complete. And that's more than that. I can teach you to tithe all day, but if you don't know what to do with that 90% after you tithe, you are still going to continue tithing on the same amount that you always have. It will never grow. So this is not just a benefit to the individual sitting in the pews. It's an individual. It's a benefit to the membership and to the ministry that they sit in, for you to teach them how to grow a business, how to stop making $100 and make $1,000, how to take $1,000 and make $10,000. It behooves us as leaders to be able to do that.
You definitely hit the nail on the head with that. I so agree with you. That's the God knows truth, because you have to ask yourself, okay, how do I gauge myself as a leader? Are my people prospering? Are they able to be like, like the servants, like the one he gave 5 and the other one he gave 2?
Exactly.
Can they double? Is their life better a year from now? And I believe that we should be able to gauge it like that. But it's almost like, you ain't got to worry about that. You're going to get it when you get to heaven. I'm like, well, what about the living we need to do right now?
That's right. And if he told me, I take God's word so seriously. Yeah. When he told me he gave me the power to get wealth, my thing was to figure out, okay, I know I have money, but how do I attain wealth? Yes. And what does wealth look like? Mm-hmm. Because wealth could be in my health, wealth could be in my finances, but because I serve a God that is so all-consuming, it should be in every area of my life.
Yes, yes.
So you have to challenge yourself and challenge yourself. I do a coffee talk with a friend, Pastor Bridget Noller, coffee talk every other Saturday. And one of the things I said is, God is so literal. Take him at his word. He says, prove me and try me, and see while I open up the windows of heaven for you. But we don't do those things. We don't challenge ourselves to walk in God. We don't explore the Bible. We should walk through the Bible like we are on an exploration, looking for the promises of God. And when you find that promise, understand that it belongs to you. That is your promise. So when he promised you the power to get wealth, he really meant it. When he promises that he'll prosper you, he really meant it. And if you are not prospering, then you need to take a step back from whatever it is you're doing, and you need to try to figure it out. But that's where leaders come into play.
Yes, definitely. I want to change it up a little bit. Because here's the one thing that I see in our community, in the black community, that our dollars, they circulate, X amount of hours and then they're gone. And then, a lot of people complain about black business, they this, they high, they this. So what's the importance of us being people of faith, but also people of color? Could you tell us the importance of how we need to take and merge our faith and also merge our community and get our economic power back?
Well, I think one of the things that I think about when I think about being a person of color, and the responsibility of doing good business, is the fact that we have the backs of ancestors who were not privileged that we stand upon. And that's the first that I always remember, is that, my grandmother who raised me was born at the end of slavery, and I remember her telling me the stories about being on the plantation, because she was born on the plantation. So I'm not against Black Lives Matter and anything else like that. I definitely think all lives matter, but I think as an African-American woman and as an African-American period in this country, that we have a responsibility to, first of all, remember that we should strive for excellence, because the backs at which we stand on didn't have the choices we had. They bled and died for us to get here. So I have to honor them with how I behave and how I act and how I conduct myself as an African American. So that's something that a Caucasian American can't necessarily say, or some other generation. But we have to give honor to where honor is due, and it's on the backs of those who came before us, who died simply for their color. Mm-hmm. So I owe them to be as excellent as I can. And I think when it comes to doing business and supporting one another as African Americans in business, I think the biggest travesty I find even today as I do business with primarily people who do not look like me is the fact that we still are not able to come together, band together. We should be buying strip malls. We should be buying malls. We should be buying property because it's our people who are suffering more so than most demographics. But we still have not found a way to put differences aside and to come together with a strategic plan for a future that's brighter for our culture. So that's the travesty. But I feel like as individuals, those of us who are doing business, and I do have some African Americans who I absolutely do business with, who I think are absolutely wonderful in business, and they're simply colleagues. Mm-hmm. I think for those of us who are striving to do business, continue striving, because even the one makes a difference. I serve and sit on several boards where I am the only African American. In some, I was the only woman, and I'm not talking about boards that are like, nothing wrong with boards for, some of the other, school boards or things like that, because we're needed everywhere. But I strive to sit on boards like CDAC, Sussex County's Economic Development Board. I strive for those things because we have to be at the table where they are making for our neighborhood, for our children, for our color. All those decisions are being made without us being around the table.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this. So, I try to tell people you got to make sure that you fill out that census form.
Absolutely.
You got to make sure that you are involved in the local politics, because if you're not, they're not going to represent you at the table if you're not there. You got to call people on stuff.
That's correct.
And so I even tell the church people, I'm like, hey, look, it's good for us to pray, and we need to pray. But you need to get down to that legislative hall to see what's going on. You need to go to these board meetings to see what's going on, because it can affect the church directly as well as indirectly when it comes into the community.
Well, one of the things I tell organizations, because I work with a lot of organizations, is that some of what we tell our people about going out to vote, and, it's good to tell them to go out to vote. Mm-hmm. And sadly, we cannot assume that they know the importance of why vote. Because I hear so much, it doesn't matter, my one vote doesn't matter, it's not going to change anything. But we know the truth of the matter is that it absolutely matters, because your one vote could be just the one vote that tips the numbers in our favor. Your one vote matters. If everybody that says that thinks would go out and vote, then we talk about our current administration. Maybe that would have changed if more people had voted, if more people had taken it seriously. So I find that in almost everything we do, we have to add an element of education along with it. We cannot assume that people understand the importance of the why to do something.
Yeah.
And so we have to add the element of education.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I also tell people, not only educate yourself, but also, look at the voting records. Because a lot of people, they fall for the hook, line, and sinker. Oh, yeah, they black, I'm black, so they're going to represent me and take up my agenda. I'm like, nah, you need to look at the voting record, because the problem that we have here in Wilmington is we have a majority black city council. The city of Wilmington is mainly ran by African Americans. But the thing is that there are measures, protective measures that could have been taken up, like body cameras. But that was voted down. I'm like, hold up. How is it that you not approve body cameras when this could potentially save lives? And I don't understand it. You look at the community that's being policed. You look at the people that are doing the policing. We need these body cameras. So I just didn't,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I tell people, don't just look at the skin of a person. Look at their record. Look at their patterns. And the crazy part is that I tell them, guys, look, there can be people that could give you a book bag drive or a block party barbecue and still vote against your interests. It has to be more than just feeding me, giving me a book bag. You got to look at what is the long-term effect. Look at the voting record before you cast that vote. So thank you.
Well, I tell you, I agree.
Yeah.
It's the promise. It's still the promise of that 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's the promise.
Mm-hmm. So
we still falling for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell people, some people don't like what I say, even when it comes to the church. And I tell them, I'm like, look, man, black ties matter. I say you can't take and finance your own oppression. You have to make sure that you're in a place that's not only going to represent you spiritually, but also represent your community. And I've told people, even right now, if your church is not, telling you about how to empower and to impact your community, if they're not talking about the issues that are relative today, then you may want to reconsider, especially if they're talking about sending your money over to Israel. I'm like, hold up. How you going to send my money over to Israel when we need help right now?
Yes, right in your backyard. And that's always been important to me when I came home from Florida and trying to choose a church. Mm-hmm. It was trying to find somewhere that was active in the community. Yeah. Because it's okay to go to church and to fellowship, I get that. But if you sit in a community where there are people who are hungry and people who are out of work and struggling and kids who need help, and you're just going to church every Sunday, then you were missing the mark because you weren't called to those four walls.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that because I put that in the intro right before I called you. I'm serious because I look at it. I'm like, Jesus, not only did he preach in the synagogues, he was outside. He was outside of the synagogues. And that's the work of Christ, to be outside as well as inside. I think a lot of people, they cherry pick when it comes to outreach. You know what I mean? Yeah. Outreach has to be on my terms. It has to be on my turf.
Right, or we only do outreach to the people we serve in the congregation.
Yeah, exactly. So, I tell people you can't get mad at Black Lives Matter organization because they're picking up balls that the church should have picked up.
That's right.
And I tell people, I'm like, if the church was actually doing what they were supposed to do, I believe Black Lives Matter wouldn't even be here or even be relevant.
No, it wouldn't, because we would already we would already be standing in the gap.
Exactly.
Black Lives Matter is standing up for the senseless killing of our African American, especially our men. Yeah. And if the church was doing what we were supposed to be doing, we'd already be standing in the gap. We'd already be rallying. We'd already be standing there demanding justice.
Yes. And the crazy part is, I'm glad you said that, is because there are people that, they have a problem not only with the organization, and I get that, but they also have a problem even with the saying. I'm like, how is it that you can call yourself a Christian and have a problem with the saying? Because if you look at the saying, what it symbolizes is Jesus leaving the 99 and going to get the one.
That's exactly it.
So my question is, how is it that you have a problem with the saying?
Well, here's the thing. Whatever people want to have a problem with, they're going to find a reason to have a problem. Mm-hmm. And sadly, there's not a lot that anybody can do about that. There's always going to be that one. I mean, best example, there was definitely a Judas. There was definitely a Peter. So there's always going to be that somebody at one particular time or the other. Mm-hmm. The thing is, as Christians, is we can't afford right now, not just as Christians, as African Americans, we can't afford to be distracted by the one.
Yeah. Because I've been telling people, and I even had to really, check myself. Like, I don't want to make the fight against injustice an idol, and I definitely don't want to make, anything that I'm doing. I don't want to put that in the place of God. So I tell people, just make sure that you keep things in perspective. Make sure God has his place, keeps his place, and don't allow anything into the place where God is. Even when it comes to relationships, I'm like, nah, I don't want to put that relationship where God should be.
What?
So let me ask you this: Have you ran across any type of racism or sexism, doing the work that you do?
Always.
Talk to us about
definitely
it.
Definitely racism. Again, I talked to the board for several organizations, and in a few of them, even in applying for the seat of the board, they had to go through some extra steps because they could not figure out why I, as a black woman, was interested on being on the board. And the thing is so they had to come and interview me and talk to me about my reasonings why. Now, anybody else, it wouldn't have been a question. I don't feel like it would have been even a concern or consideration. It would have been natural for them to want to, but it was not natural for a black person who had never been on the board, because there had never been a black person on the board, to want to be on there. And as I explained during the interview, you've never been black in Sussex County. You don't know what it's like to raise black children in Sussex County. And so I need to be where you are on that side of the table, because on that side of the table, you are making decisions about the job to the area I live in. You are making decisions about the schools and what kind of education my children are going to get. And I don't see why I shouldn't be on that side of the table. And so after the interview, one of the things that they came out and said was, you know what, we welcome you to the board because we feel like you bring a unique perspective. That was another way of saying thank you for your black perspective. Because again, you've never been black in Sussex County.
Wow.
And so the thing is absolutely, I've experienced the racism. I mean, even negatively, I say that wasn't a negative experience to me. That was an educational experience for them. For them. Some of us care. Some of us, it matters. And some these things. So, and the negative experiences, I've been told by black people that I was a token for a board that I was on. I said, you can call it what you want, but I am doing the same thing my ancestors showed me how to do, is to blaze a trail.
Yeah. Because
they need to understand that not all of us are illiterate. Not all of us don't care about the quality of lives we lead. We don't just go to the chicken plant and come home. There's more for us. We are entrepreneurs. We are educators. We are brilliant. And so, so the racism I experienced sometimes has been from my own people, from African American people. They think I do too much. They tell me I talk white, I sound white, I do all these things, or you think you're more than this or more than that, or you're forgetting where you came from.
Yeah.
I said, here's the thing. I remember where I come from.
Yeah.
And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And as far as sexism in the construction industry, yes. I mean, I hired people to run my organization that, thought because I was a woman, I didn't know a thing. And I mean, I ended up having to fire them simply because they began to take over. It was a battle of male, female. And there will never be a battle in my company because it's my company. That's why.
I'm glad you said that. I am so glad you said that. Thank you for that, because I think that's the thing that frustrates me a lot of times with our community. I remember my son coming to me one time. He was like, Dad, everybody's making fun of me. They say I talk white. I'm like, son, you talk the way that you are supposed to talk. Everybody doesn't have to, talk slang,
Right.
And just because I don't talk slang doesn't mean that I'm not black. And it's almost like, they give you a black card and they gauge it, just off of that. So I'm like, nah, man, you expecting me to be illiterate. I'm like, sorry.
Well, and that is the expectation. And so, you have to put those myths, those are the myths today of today's African Americans. We are not illiterate. We are intelligent. We have thought. We are capable of doing a whole lot of things that people don't normally think we're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And so, but unless you enter a room and show something other than your pants hanging off your behind, show something other than the latest ebonics and trends, you have to come on this night. Unless you show those different things, then that's all they're ever going to see of us.
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this. I have the tendency to say that sometimes that the racism up north is hidden. and the racism down south is more, you can see it more and everything. So did you ever, have you come across that being down that part? Was it like hidden? Was it hidden racism, or was it just out front?
I'm sorry, say that one more time. I'm en route to my building.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're en route. No, I was asking about, when it came to the racism, was it hidden, or was it more or less, out front, hey, we don't want you here, or, with the whole hidden thing, they acting like they want you, but they really don't.
Right. Some of those. Mostly, most very big deal. Because again, expectations that they're not necessarily healthy. So when someone says something, like, they don't expect since you're not intelligent, like, the meaning of what they're saying. Only to realize, not only are we intelligent, I caught it, but I'm getting ready to respond. So that's different. So sometimes it was over, other times it was out there, and sometimes
Oh, hey, Sister Harrison, we starting to lose you.
hold on.
All right.
Might be a little bit further.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we got you. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so it's been a little bit of everything. Like I said, sometimes it's out there, bold and rash. Other times it's thinly veiled. Again, the whole thing is they don't expect us to be able to understand or to grasp meanings of things. And it's so crazy because I feel like in Wilmington versus Sussex County, here it's probably more prevalent than I've seen it in Wilmington. In Wilmington, it's probably more hidden. But I don't feel like I never feel it as much in Wilmington as I do in Sussex County. In Sussex County, we're still a good old boys network.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, hey, I want to change it up a little bit. Tell us about your life coaching.
Sure. So with the life coaching, one of the things I wrestled with was feeling whether is qualified. But if you've lived a certain level of life, if you've been through a certain thing, it's not necessarily about going and getting degrees about life coaching. It's about understanding that God called us to be transparent. That's why the word tells us that we are overcomers by the word of our testimony. If you never know what I've been through, then you'll never know that you can make it too. Mm-hmm. And so that's the foundation of my coaching. And I've been through a lot of things, more than most people would ever imagine. Most people don't realize I've been homeless once in my life. These things. And, how did I come out of it? And all I want you to know is that you're capable. You're capable. You are empowered with everything you need to succeed. And I don't want to just be the kind of coach that says that to you and you don't see that. I can share my life with you, and you will understand that if I could do it as a single mother, as a high school dropout, and all these other things, that you certainly can do it too.
Wow, yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing. I'm glad that you definitely said that. So I want to also talk about your published works. So can you tell us about those? Because I know you're an author too.
Yes. So I have how-to books. I do have a book on prayer that is a rewrite. It's by E.M. Bounds, the book on prayer. That's very deep. I love that book. And then my books are how-to. How to make $100 building websites a day. How I bought 6 houses with no money down. Again, it's about empowering people to understand that what they need is in their hands to be able to change their lives. It's not anywhere else. We're looking at all these other places. Now, I may have to teach you. You may have to learn one thing to be able to use what's in your hand, because maybe you've been throwing the stick on the ground, Moses, and you don't need to throw it in the ground. Maybe all you need to do is point it and have faith and believe that it's going to work. Mm-hmm. So then I may just need to tell you, no, baby, don't throw that on the ground. Just point it at what you want to move, and it will be moved. So that's the difference in my publications. And we're getting ready to put out a series of 10-pagers. because nobody has time to read much anymore. But we're getting ready to put out a series of 10 pages on everything from A to Z, on, how to get started in grant writing, on, how to just live well, how to find a balance and a peace in the midst of the storm. Just little things that can help people. Quick reads that are going to allow people to take it in and hopefully be blessed and make some small difference in their life.
Wow, that's great. So let me ask you this. So, what was the journey like when you were writing and everything? Tell us about that.
It was a struggle because I've always been very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to find the space and the peace to be able to just focus on what I'm doing. So I learned that systems definitely help. So I have little systems in place that allow me to be able to write and to put down my thoughts and make them cohesive and flow the way I want to flow. But it definitely means I have to keep myself in a headspace. And I look at life as a journey and an adventure, more so now since I've hit 50 than probably ever before.
Mm-hmm.
I take absolutely nothing for granted at all.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely, yeah, you're right about that. You're definitely right about that. Don't take anything for granted. I'm like, hey, if people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Oh, the first time, yes. The
Yes.
first time. Don't make them have to show you a second.
Yeah, exactly. So I know, God has brought you through a journey and everything. And I mean, you minister to people. How is it that people can come, to a place of emotional healing if they've experienced church hurt, or they've experienced, life in a way that wasn't so pleasant, where they were like, you know what, man, God, I blame you for all of this?
Well, I definitely, when people ask that question, I always tell them, I give them a disclaimer first. The disclaimer simply is, I can't tell you about me without telling you about God.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I talk about coming from church hurt, which I certainly have.
Yeah.
When I think that you have to be able to first realize if it's a person that hurt you, the saying is very true that hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. You can't take it personal. There's something in them that has to be worked out, and you don't need to take that personal, but you have to find a place where you know who you are. And I know that that's tough because I've been there many times where I felt like I knew who I was, but I clearly didn't. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. So it wasn't hard to attack any part of where I was uncomfortable and make me feel less than. And when you are hurt, you stop caring. I suffered depression, deep depression, clinical depression. And, it was really only the word that brought me out. And I say that because I had to let God minister to me and tell me who I was. And he can tell you, but until you start believing, until you find that one piece of something that you can hold on to and believe this about yourself, if he says you were fearfully and wonderfully made, and you only feel like you are fearfully made, then hold on to it until you find wonderful at the end of the day. It's footholds. It's a little bit at a time. Surround yourself with people who care about you, really care, understand what caring means. See, these are the things that I say that, oh, good, the door's open. These are things that I say that as leaders, we have to be able to help people understand. If they're surrounding themselves with the same old people all the time, it's not going to be the people who necessarily care about you. So you have to sometimes change your circle, and it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And we don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think just finding, surrounding yourself with the word, surrounding yourself with people who care and who love you and focusing on you. And see, we have stigmatized it to the point where we tell people that they are selfish. Mm-hmm. We tell people that they are selfish if they think about themselves. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely not the truth. Because until you can help yourself, you can't help anybody else.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head with that, because a lot of people, along the way, they end up forgetting about themselves. They've taken care of everybody else except themselves.
Right, and when you give and give and give and give and give, and you don't get anything back, at that point you've now depleted your storehouse, and you have nothing to give.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we have to be able to take care of ourselves, and that's the same thing with healing from hurt. Is you have to get away. First of all, you have to get away from the thing that hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. And I have found it doesn't even matter who it is. And more often than not, it's going to be family members. It's going to be somebody close to you. Because if it's not somebody close to you, you don't really care what they have to think about anything. It's the people who are close that you worry and value their opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, you are dropping some gems this morning. So, I know we're getting to the place where we got to get ready to, bring it on in. But I want to ask you, how can, I ain't gonna lie, we might have to do a part 2. Seriously. So, look, I know your time is important. So tell us, how can people, get a hold of you, for coaching, for any of the programs that you have? How can people get a hold of you?
I'm all over Facebook, and now that I'm a new real estate agent, they're probably going to see me more.
Okay.
So, they're Facebook. They can call my cell phone, 302-381-7053. They can really just Google my name. If you Google me, you will find me. Okay.
So, Sister Harrison, let me ask you this. If people want to get your books, where can they get your books?
Believe it or not, they're on Amazon.
Okay. All right, then. Cool. You know what? I when I was up here talking with you, I ain't gonna lie, the Lord started showing me, are you striving towards being like a land developer?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you, God. Yes,
okay.
I am.
All right. Yeah, because that's what I'm seeing. I'm like, man, land developer. Whoo. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna look up one day, and you're gonna have this whole big community of housing. I'm serious. Seriously, I'm like, man, call it Harrison Estates.
Absolutely. Look, from your mouth to God's ears. God made me some promises years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me some visions and said, now work your way to it, and I am doing just that.
Yeah.
I love God for his faith in me, and see, the thing is I believe God, and he can trust me. He can trust me with whatever he puts in my hand
mm-hmm.
to help his people with.
Yeah.
And so, absolutely, it has been a blessing. I'm looking forward to moving into getting my Series 7. I'm looking for a mentor for that.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, those of us who have the ability to do more to help our people, we need to do more to help our people.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that prophetic word.
Yeah. I just, my thing is that, we have to get to the place where God empowers us to help our people get above the scratch line. That's what I see with you. So, I just want to say thank you. We honor you today. I want to ask you this: if we have the opportunity to do another show, I want to talk about housing, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to do a show on housing because we hear about redlining, we hear about gentrification. I want to really break it down and okay, what does that mean? How does that affect us? How does that affect our community? How does it affect our resources and everything? Because I'm just giving you, here's an example of the city of Wilmington. We got food deserts all over the place.
Absolutely.
And so, my question is that a result of redlining? Is that a result of gentrification? Because now we see a lot of abandoned houses, and then, we see people that have been moved out of public housing at times and affordable housing at times. And then those people are moved and relocated, and then they take those areas and revitalize them. And then they make it so that the people that used to live there can't even afford to come back.
Absolutely. Gentrification is terrible. So I have been involved in economic development and community economic development for years. I'm a graduate of the University of Delaware's program on urban development. And my professor was Rahima Jabarbe, one of the best in the industry. And I tell you, I will be glad to come on and talk about housing and redlining and how that affects us, and also what we can do as a community to begin to redevelop some of those areas.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sister Harrison. I just want to say thank you. Hey, look, we also got to do a show when you start pastoring as well, because I ain't going to lie. Because I ain't going to lie, there's a whole lot of people, they still got problem with women ministers. So we definitely got to talk about that.
I know.
So, hey, can you talk to us again, how can people get a hold of you and get in contact with you for coaching?
So they can absolutely call my cell, which is the easiest way to get a hold of me, which is 302-381-7053. And if they Google my name, Lillian Harrison, they're going to find me. I'm on Facebook as Lillian Harrison. They'll find me. And, again, Google and cell phone, text me. So any of those things are easy ways to reach me, and literally can ask around. I'll tell you, because I'm not hard to find statewide.
All right. Thank you, Sister Harrison. I so appreciate you. We honor you today, and I just want to say, I just want to wish you the best in everything that you're doing. And I just decree, God opening up more doors for you that no man can close. And
thank you.
Yes. So I just want to say thank you. You have yourself a blessed day, okay?
Thank you. You too, and God bless.
All right. God bless. Thank you. All right, guys. That was Sister Lillian Harrison. So you heard it yourself. I'm telling you, God is going to move. God is already moving. And so I want you guys to be aware. This is why we do what we do. Because the thing is that I want you guys to be aware of people that are here in Delaware. People that are here in Delaware, in the state in which we live. And there's also people abroad, because this show is a show about showing you how you can overcome the odds, and also how you can be informed, and also how you can be free. Because God has given us truth. He's given us life so that we can have freedom. And that's what it's about. So I want you guys to be blessed. I can't wait till, me and Sister Harrison, we definitely got to talk again, because it is so important that we know what is happening in our neighborhoods. So, hey, I'm looking forward to that next show with her. But I want you guys to listen to this, take down the information, learn from her journey. And if you live downstate, she is definitely the woman to get a hold of. Seriously, that's the God knows truth. So with that being said, guys.
Walk in the truth that makes you free every day. Follow Brother Leon on all social media